So here's the deal. Normally, I do in the tank with fish. I specifically, since I have the privilege of having two members of our water agency here, choosing not to call this in the tank with fish or speak anything that might be contrary to the great job they do because of me. So they don't want this fish in their water. DeDe Cordell, one of my favorite all-time people.
You're so sweet.
Because of who you are. But you introduced me to the water agency. I had no idea about it. And now you're about to introduce me to Willie.
Yeah, Willie Whittlesey is our general manager, and he's been around quite a bit for the last few years, and he precedes me at the water agency. So he's seen us through all the changes that we've made over the last many years. So
did he hire you?
He was a big part of hiring me. He wasn't the general manager at the time I was hired, but he did participate in an interview panel. And
well, Willie, everybody already likes you then.
It's partly my fault.
I'll take
Whose dumb idea was it to do this interview?
All right, so I want to backtrack a little bit because the water agency, we were talking offline, has been around for what, 9 years?
Oh, we've been around a lot longer than that. I've been there for 9 years.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, no. We go back to 1959.
What?
Yeah. I'll let Willie tell you the story.
All right, Willie. You're on, buddy.
All right. Yuba Water Agency 101. Here we go.
Yeah.
The water agency was created in 1959 for the purpose of water supply and flood control. Mm-hmm. It was created through an act of the state legislature, basically from pressure from local leaders in Yuba County following the 1955 flood. And the ambition was to build a flood control and water supply reservoir on the North Yuba River, which is now New Bullards Bar. They were successful in that. We started construction of the reservoir in 1966, completed it in 1970. And from then on, we had the flood control benefit of the reservoir. But in order to finance the project, they sold bonds, and PG&E paid off the bonds. So for the first 50 years of the project's existence, PG&E got the benefit of the electricity generated from our project. And then in 2016, that 50-year agreement expired. And when you say we've been around for 9 years, it's more like 10. It was May of 2016. And that's when the evolution of the agency, or what I say, the second chapter of the agency started, is when we got complete control of our project. We always owned it. We were always, it was always the Yuba River Development Project owned by Yuba Water Agency. Back then it was Yuba County Water Agency. Sorry, DeDe, I'm just going to clarify here for those that have been around for that long. But yeah, 2016.
It took me a long time to get that one, but I got it.
Yeah. 2016, things changed for Yuba Water Agency and subsequently Yuba County as a whole for flood protection, water supply, and all the other community benefits that we provide and have been providing at a larger scale since 2016.
So PG&E's agreement was for the power generated by the new Colgate Power, right?
Yep.
So you guys always knew that was a working thing, right? It would generate power. Where does the power go?
So
when I flip my lights on, am I getting any of that? I'm in Sutter County.
The answer to that is yes. It goes into I don't want to get too technical, but the CalISO grid. We sell our energy ever since May of 2016. We sell our energy that we generate at our Colgate and Narrows powerhouses into the wholesale market, into the CalISO market. And it goes on to PG&E's system. And so, when you turn the lights on at your house, some of the electrons are flowing from our generators.
So that's totally now the water agency's fish to fry is the power that's generated. And then that brings income in when power is generated that didn't come here before. The income didn't come here, right? It went to PG&E. So from 2016, but you still have the responsibility of flood control and all the other things that you were doing before, right?
That's right. We still have the responsibility to operate the reservoir for flood control. And that's one of the other complexities that, when we came out from under PG&E, we went for 50 years where we could always rely on PG&E for, project support, engineering support, But then when we came out from under PG&E, we had to build a bench of talent. And so we went from something like 35 employees a couple years leading up to 2016. So let's call it 2013, 35 employees to about 110 today. And that's because of all the additional responsibility that came along with managing the project ourselves.
I think I might remember when you were in, because we talked to somebody about watershed, right, and what that is, and how you guys work to improve the watershed. So, I think a lot of times we just think, well, the water that's in the river, right, not the water. Where does that water come from? The different places that it come from. But you guys have done forestry work too, right? How does that connect?
So we directly haven't done forestry, but we've partnered with folks in the watershed to improve the health of our forests and primarily minimize the risk of catastrophic wildfire in our watershed, which would have detrimental effects to our reservoir operations and our downstream water users. So we partner with a bunch of local NGOs, the tribes, the U.S. Forest Service, National Forest Foundation, Blue Forest Conservation, and others to do the right thing in the forest to create a healthy, resilient forest that can withstand, the inevitable wildfire.
Yeah, and that's why I asked you that, right, was because of the connections you have to make way beyond what you do and work with other agencies to make the whole thing work. So it's not as simple as the water comes down there. I just think it's a lot. That's why I told you off air, I don't want your job. Not looking for it. Your job I might look at. I might be able to,
My job's great.
Is it?
Yeah, I have the best job.
Okay. Well,
I get to brag about all the cool things that we do.
Exactly.
And I've had it pretty easy for the last several years.
Yeah, I just wondered, do you have a retirement program?
Yes, we do.
We have one. It's not retroactive.
No retroactive. Can't go back retroactive.
I can't seem to find anybody that'll do that. So now you've had an opportunity. So have you been on board since 2016, since the beginning?
Yeah, I came on in November of 2016, so not on the date of switchover from PG&E, but shortly thereafter.
So, Willie, can you tell me, kind of encapsulate what you walked into, right, in terms of what the Water Agency is or was, and where you see it, where it's going? Already we've seen just incredible benefits, and I do want to talk about the fish habitat and the stuff you're doing for schools, because that's awesome. And so you guys have gotten involved in, part of it's education. So from your perspective in working there, what have you seen as major changes? And you're just going, I love this. This is the way we should go. Not that the board or everybody will agree with you, but because they might say we're not going that direction, right? But as general manager, you've had to see a lot, just incredible.
Yeah, well, I worked at the agency for several years prior to becoming general manager, and like I said, I came on board just a few months after the expiration of the PG&E Power Purchase Agreement, which we talked about. And like I mentioned, the agency was in a growth stage, and where are we taking this agency, and what kind of community benefit can we give this community by using this agency? So it was an exciting time to come on, and I got to be a part of the growth of the agency and defining the direction of the agency. And I'll just say that we have a fully supportive board of directors, and we have a strategic plan that we operate to, and they identify the goals and the objectives of the agency, and we work to achieve that strategic plan. We have done great things since 2016. Primarily our community grant program for flood control and water supply, but many other things, like you guys talked about education, and DeDe will talk about curriculum. We've already talked about forest health. But many other, community grants have been provided by this agency to, help this community thrive, and that is absolutely exciting.
Yeah.
And inevitably, Fish, we will talk about our Penstock incident here today, and I would just describe that as an incident that we see as a speed bump and not a roadblock. So we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Well, it's not something that you could plan.
Yeah.
I watched the video, and it was like, okay, we were in the process of making sure it was all fixed, like it was right. So you're in the middle of a process of fixing it. And, it's like nobody said, I think I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into the water agency by doing this. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I saw the video. It's incredible. I mean, I can't even imagine how much effort has had to go through and the things you've already done since the incident. I just think it's amazing. I just think it's like so many things involved that your average person, it's like, oh, well, fix the pipe. What's wrong? Just get somebody up there with a wrench, bolt that puppy back together and fill it full of water, right?
It might be a smidge more complicated than that. Yeah.
I'm a plumber. I can do this. Hire me, right? I'm not a plumber. That's a lie. So, and I don't want to do that. But I'm glad you brought that up because I see it the same way. I see the agency's momentum and purpose is not changing. That you're going to fix this and the purpose, and you brought it up with the board. So I did want to ask you, what makes up the board of the water agency? Because that's where the decision, you don't get to just say, we're doing this.
Yep. So DeDe and I work for 7 board members,
okay.
The Yuba Water Agency Board of Directors, and they're made up of the 5 county supervisors and 2 members at large, 1 member at large from the north side of the county and 1 from the south side of the county. So we have 7 bosses. They're the ones that set the objectives of the agency through our strategic plan, and it's our job to implement it.
Got it. Because I knew, I wasn't saying, well, Willie, you make the decision. DeDe goes, yeah, I agree, and we move on.
Yeah.
Right? I thought it was a bit more complicated than that. And so can you tell me where you're headed? I appreciate what you say. We're going to get the pipe fixed. We're moving on. So what does it take to the next step?
Well, you mentioned earlier, kind of jokingly, like, it's not just, the water goes down the river. When we're talking about watersheds, water goes down the river, goes through our powerhouse and reservoir, and we're done. It's I call it raindrops to electrons, or, the entire watershed to, the confluence of the Yuba and the Feather. It's super complicated. But where is the agency going? We're going to get right back to the business we were in prior to our Penstock incident, but we have a major project underway to restore our Penstock. And like you jokingly said, I'm a plumber, I can fix it.
Yeah.
You just have a broken pipe. It's no big deal.
No, I saw the pictures.
Yeah, the facilities we have they're huge. I mean, physically huge. They cost a lot of money. It's just a big round pipe, but it's super complex. So we have a lot of work to work with all those other regulatory agencies to get approval of the redesign and get through the forensics investigation and understand what actually caused this. Like you said, no one planned on this. We plan for emergencies. We plan for incidents. DeDe does a great job getting us through like crisis exercises. So I think we did a fairly good job of getting through the actual incident itself. But now
you guys moved quickly. That was amazing. You guys were on it. I mean, it was immediate. And even the information that got to your average person like me, you guys did a fantastic job. It was like, because it was like, boom, it happened, boom, we're taking care of it. It was like there wasn't even a space. Did any of you guys sleep during that time?
No.
It was a rough few weeks.
Was that one of those where somebody yells, all hands on deck, and then everybody was back at work?
Fish, it's basically that. It was all hands on deck. And I've got to thank our staff and our board for the first few weeks of getting through this incident. And you asked, did we sleep? Well, we might have slept, but I think the impact to me was when you wake up in the morning and your first thought is this really happening? Did this really happen? It's like, yep, this is really happening. And you got to go back up to the plant and, figure this stuff out. So get to work. So yeah, it was difficult, but we got through it. And, we're continuing to get through it. I'll explain to your viewers and listeners that we're kind of in the conceptual engineering for the rebuild right now. We're waiting on the forensics investigation, and those will couple together here in another couple months. We'll take the engineering and look at what the root cause of the incident was and make sure we're mitigating the root cause going forward.
Yeah.
And then we can get into reconstruction. But it takes a lot of process to get through that, a lot of engineering. And we're hoping to improve the condition of our facilities in the meantime. So there's a lot of work going on up there. We're putting out videos and updates on, the sediment removal in the river and the fact that we have reestablished road access there. And we're going to have an effort underway in the next few weeks of just long-term stabilization of the hillside above Colgate Powerhouse. There's a lot of work ongoing right now. We've done a lot of great things, but soon we're going to actually be putting the project back together and bolting new pipe together and all that. And I'm really looking forward to that because that's going to actually show like the forward momentum, and it gets back to This isn't a roadblock. It's just a speed bump that we're going to get through. And then we'll get this agency back on track, benefiting the community. The reality is we've got, revenue limitations right now because the Colgate Powerhouses are offline right now. So
I was going to ask you about that because that's the primary source of income, correct?
80%.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't want to sound stupid, right? But I can't help it. Sometimes I do.
You're in good company. It's all good.
What in the world is a Penstock? I mean, come on, we've all heard it's the Penstock. It's like, I mean, Penstock to me would be a box of pens that you stock for.
It's a big water pipe.
So the big deal is you guys are out of pens. I'll buy some. What can you explain it to me? And then what does it do? So where's the water come from? Where does it go? Again, I don't want to sound stupid, but I want to know.
Well, then I'll tell you.
Okay, thanks.
DeDe just said it's a big pipe. So it is. It's a big pipe.
Big pipe. I saw the picture.
So our primary reservoir is New Bullard's Bar. We'll call it Bullard's Bar because that's what we call it here locally. It's a 1 million acre foot reservoir. Its primary purpose is flood control and water supply. Okay, great. We've talked about that. But as we deliver the water downstream, we run it through the Colgate Powerhouse. And the way that we get the water out of the reservoir and into the powerhouse is, let's just call it, the majority of it is through a big tunnel through the mountainside. And when that tunnel reaches the location of the Penstock, it pops out of the mountainside and it goes into a big, large pipe for a little over a half mile.
Wow.
From what we call the portal, where it comes out of the tunnel, down to the powerhouse. And the big pipe is 14 feet in diameter. It's about inch and a half thick steel. It is a monster piece of infrastructure. It's got huge concrete foundations holding it up. If you can imagine the weight of the pipe and the water that have to be held up by this thing, it's on a very steep slope. But the purpose of the Penstock is to get water from the reservoir to the powerhouse so we can generate power. And that water goes into the downstream river and provides habitat for salmon and steelhead, and it provides irrigation water for our local farmers, and it makes its way into the Delta.
So it's really that simple. It's the pipe where you're carrying the water from Bullard's Bar to the generator.
That's exactly
to the
right.
way it's generated. And then it's released back into the river.
Yeah.
That's right.
Got it.
And why it's called
Now
a
I feel
Penstock.
like I know stuff.
Why it's called the Penstock, I can't really tell you the history of the word, but in the hydraulic mining days, when you see the old videos of hydraulic mining going on, you see the monitor, which is the nozzle that blasts the hillside away. The pipes that delivered water to those monitors were called Penstocks.
Well, if you're a corporation out there and you have a lot of money, you can have that named after you. Nope, you're not going to do that.
I don't think we're branding the Penstock itself.
Come on, the Fischetti Penstock? The fish Penstock?
I don't know, DeDe. If Fish has a check, we might put his name on it.
I appreciate that. I know it sounds oversimplified, but at the same time, it's like I kept seeing it, and I could see the damage and everything, and I thought this is a nightmare. But once I began to hear how quickly you guys, you went after it, and not just to keep us all informed, but also just the way that, I didn't realize you got to rebuild a road. You got to keep the stuff out of the river. I was like, man, I'd have never thought of that. I'd have been like, let it flow down the river. Everything else does. And it's like, can't do that, right?
No, I can seriously say, not blowing smoke. I've always, as you know, from every time I've been on the air with you, I'm very proud of Yuba Water.
Oh, buddy.
I have never been more proud than I am of the time that we spent this first couple of weeks, watching the response and watching the way everyone just rose to the occasion and was thinking 5-6 steps down the line, everything we need to think about to make sure that we're, getting in there to get stuff out of the water, and who do we need to get in touch with to start, controlling the debris, and what else do we need to do? It was so impressive. And it just, I can't even tell you how much it filled me with pride, and it just filled my cup because it was a very, very difficult time.
When I was in the military, I took a lot of emergency management training, FEMA classes and that, because there's an emergency, you got to move quickly, and you have to move with determination and purpose. And, You don't just have a plan A and B. You got plan C, D, E, and F, right? And you keep going. And, although I wasn't directly involved, I felt like you guys just nailed it. You just went through this, need to do this, take care of this. If this flips, we're going to do that. And I appreciate what you said, Willie, about we're not just going to repair that pipe. We're going to find out what caused it. We're going to mitigate that so it never happens again. And that's the kind of stuff that we love to hear, that it's like, look, I don't want your job. I will never put in for that job because you don't have a good retirement that allows me to be retroactive. But just having to do that, and then having the foresight and to be able to look and say, look, in order to make this not just fixed, but better, right? This is what we're going to have to do. If this is going to take a long time, we're going to have to take the time, but we're going to do it right and do it. And to me, those are the kinds of things that have to be considered. And then with all the other stuff, I didn't realize how many different agencies, right, you have to work with to make things work, and they'll go, well, we're going to let you do that, but you got to do this, this, and this. But things aren't free. So whenever this, and this shows up, it costs money. And so revenue-wise, you guys have to wait until the whole thing's fixed to actually get your revenue start flowing again. The water's flowing, the revenue's flowing, the fish are flowing. It's Flow City. And so I like it. I mean, I love it. But in the meantime, you're still doing stuff, and you're still working on, you guys came up with a curriculum to help kids understand stuff about the river. I love that.
Yeah. Our water education program actually goes back to those, like Willie was talking earlier about those early days when we first started getting the revenue, and we were like brainstorming on what can we do legally, because we are limited as to what we can and cannot spend money on legally. It has to be, connected to our missions. And the water education concepts started coming in, and we were just like, it was such an exciting time, and we had meetings in those early days where the energy in the room was just electric to feel like we could do this and we could do that. We were so excited, and it just feels good to be part of something that is making your community better. Yeah. So it was such a neat time to be there. And so we brought in a bunch of community experts, education experts from all 5 different Yuba County school districts and from Yuba County Office of Education, and from partners like South Yuba River Citizens League, who have their own education program. And we just brought in all these people, and we're like, we're not education experts. I'm a communications gal. I don't, he's a forest guy and a power guy. He's like, we don't know about education other than what we went through ourselves. So we brought in people to help guide us and give us suggestions on what we could do and kind of help us through this process. And we came up with several different ideas, and some of the different things that we started doing. We had the salmon expeditions that we started doing, where we would fund that every year, and every 4th grader in Yuba County goes on a salmon expedition. And this year, Yuba Water's not able to pay for that, but I am thrilled to share that Yuba County Education Foundation held a massive fundraising effort in partnership with South Yuba River Citizens League, and we have obtained all of the money that we need to put every 4th grader on water for that salmon expedition again this year. So, I think such good news.
I think about this. You guys have been giving. I mean, I don't know another word. The agency's been giving, constantly giving. And it's like, does anybody want to give back? Right? I mean, we're either in this together or we're not. It's either a community or it's not, and I think it is. And so somebody had told me that they wanted to be part of that, and I thought, I can't wait to talk to DeDe. Right? It's like, because I think sometimes we think, they're fine. When generally speaking, emotionally, that was not fine. That was overwhelming, right? And it's like, so what on the other side of that, while you're in process, would make you go, this is good. Well, people giving back.
Yeah.
People saying, I believe in you. People like, this is a good program. What can we do to help it? And I just think that's awesome.
Yeah. And actually, before I talk about the curriculum piece, I definitely, you just triggered something that I really want to make sure we say. If there was one thing that was very clear throughout the response to the incident, it's that the community has our backs. It was the most amazing thing. I get emotional every time I start to think about it. When, like somebody would say something, like a troll on Facebook would say something that clearly uninformed, and I didn't even have to have my team responding to it, right? The community came out and defended us. The community came out and educated and corrected misinformation and came to our defense and in many cases proactively was making their own posts about, people don't know what they're talking about. Let me tell you about Yuba Water and everything that they do for this community. And it filled my cup so much every day to see the community turn out like that for us. And then our very first board meeting was the Tuesday after the incident. Incident happened on Friday night. Tuesday morning, we had a board meeting. That room was packed full of people and online full of people who wanted to be there to tell us that they had our backs, that they know that we will come back even stronger. And it was so powerful. And I'm such a sap. I was constantly walking around with tears in my eyes. But it was really beautiful. And I cannot say thank you enough to everybody who really stood up for us and was there to cheer us on. So
I think about that. Anybody can be, a keyboard.
Yeah, troll.
Thank you. Anybody can do that. But it takes real people to stand next to you and go, look, we all have our days. But this day is past. Let's move forward. And what can we do to help you do that? And I love this community. I mean, I was born in Brooklyn, raised in St. Louis, married a California girl, and so I'm here. Right?
That's my husband tells that story too.
I followed the California girl, right? And I love this community, and my connection with the water agency, mostly DeDe, has been through you, and I just love what you guys do. And so it's like, well, okay, well, this is a great thing, right? The water agency is a great thing. Well, they just got hit with a sledgehammer. What are you going to do? Badmouth them like they caused it? All right, which one of you had a wrench over there unbolting that penstock, right? It's like, what the heck? Yeah. So I do love that, and I'm grateful to hear that people have supported the deal with the salmon, right? That people were supportive, that people were saying, look, you don't have to defend yourself. These folks do. I hear it all. People will get on and talk about, what we do here. And I'm like, well, you can talk about me all day long, but I know I'm making a difference. I know that community radio, I know the purpose of it. And the purpose is not to talk about a mistake. Because if you're out there, it's like when Jesus did the thing, he that's without sin, throw the first stone. It's like these guys would all be stoned to death, right? It's like don't be throwing stones, right? Because it's a deal where if we're in this together, how do we move forward? And that's one of the reasons I ask you guys, has the vision changed, right? Or is it just we're going to repair this, but we're going right back to what we were doing? We have a vision for this whole county, for all of Yuba County, not just one area. We have a vision for the whole county. And I'm really glad to know, even though I live in Sutter County, I work in Yuba County, and I'm getting, what'd you say, something to electrons. That was awesome.
Water drops to electrons.
Come on, that should be an ad.
Raindrops to electrons.
Yeah, raindrops to electrons. That's perfect, right? So even though I have solar and I don't really pay PG&E, I don't know. I can't remember the last time I had a bill.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
I have solar, and I still have a PG&E bill.
I have the gas one, right? Because you can't, right? And they don't have solar that takes care of gas. I can't figure that out. Anyway. So I really appreciate it. So it's not that people can't continue to help. It's not that people can't continue to promote an agency that's promoted all of us, that's been there for us, and will continue to be there for us. So now I have a question I have to ask because DeDe goes, no, I think things sometimes, and
sentence.
All right. And so sometimes I think about this, and Willie, it's why I ask you about the power, right? And it's like, sometimes I think, gosh, I live in an area where we've got a lot of water and we have our own power generating. Could we just cut off California, the rest of it, and take care of ourselves? I mean, so I wonder about stuff like that. That powerhouse, it's a big deal of what it produces. But, I've got no idea, but I'm just thinking, my lights aren't going out. We've got our own powerhouse up here. And it's like, would there ever be a time when that could be expanded to produce actually more power? Is that even feasible? Am I asking too much?
No, those are great questions.
All right.
So to expand the generation capacity.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So the engineers back in the 50s and 60s that designed this watershed, the primary engineer, it was an engineer named Gumi Sarkaria. He was the lead engineer for the dam and the powerhouse, and wonderful guy. I never got to meet him. He's a legend around our facilities. But they did a wonderful job building what would be most efficient for flood control, water supply, and power generation. And so I often ask my engineers, like, what more could we do? For example, we're in this outage right now, this unplanned outage because of the Penstock incident. And I say, hey, guys, what more could we do to make this place better or even more efficient? And frankly, hydroelectric generation, or like the mechanics of it, hasn't really changed in 150 years. There's some digital things you can do with like turbine design and things like that to get 1% or 2% more efficiency, but it was really optimized, and the engineers in the 1960s optimized it. So given what we have, the watershed we have, the hydrology we have, the elevation difference between the reservoir and the powerhouse, there's not a lot you can do to expand generation capacity. But I'll answer the elephant in the room too, and that is, well, why can't Yuba Water Agency just, provide power to the people of Yuba County? And this goes back to the creation of the agency. And I mentioned that the leaders of, at the time in the late 1950s, who saw the 1955 flood and the effects of that and wanted to build the project for flood control and water supply, they had to negotiate a deal with the legislature on the creation of the agency. And DeDe touched on this, what the agency is allowed to do. Like there's limitations on our money. We're not like a general services organization. We are a water supply and flood control that gets to do hydroelectric generation agency. So the limitation that was put in the legislation that created us said that we can't supply retail power. We can generate wholesale power, but we can't supply retail power. It's very well spelled out in our agency act.
Well, when we split the state, Willie, we're going to change that. The people that say, well, we just want to take care of us up here, right? So, man, I appreciate that. I mean, it's questions I've had and things I've wondered, where does this go? How does the power work? But also, I don't want to negate that, again, I don't want to say something over and over again, but I was just blown away again, having some experience with emergency and how you handle things, how quickly you guys went after this. So I commend you you were on it, and that mattered. But what I didn't know is what you said, how the people got behind you. I apologize. I probably should have called you right away and say, what do you need, right? Because I've told you that before. Whatever we can do with this little radio station and that, we're going to do, because I believe in what you're doing. And but I am wondering, can we get a direct line to 642 Main Street for power? Can we?
That's why I answered that question for you, Fish.
Darn it! Before I got there, Willie had it. He knew where I was going. No, I really do appreciate it. Appreciate all you do. Thanks for you guys have shared recently some videos with us, and we're going to play this one as well. So that people can kind of get an idea. Hey. Man, we're going. This is going to keep going. We're good. This is going to happen. But also, you've shared the ones on the Penstock. Now that I know what a Penstock is, thank you. I don't know why it's called that, but Willie doesn't know either, so we're good, right? It's like, whatever, it's the Penstock. And then thank you for that. So is there anything more that people can do financially to help with that, or is it all paid for, the salmon thing?
This year, the salmon expeditions have been covered.
Okay.
If anyone wants to continue to contribute, the final gift could just be reduced by that last person. But honestly, we're probably going to be needing to do some more fundraising next year. So,
all right.
So don't put that pocketbook away forever. We might be asking again next year to get some help to fund those salmon expeditions. And it makes a big difference because there are some schools where if it's even $20 or $25 cost per student for them to go, it will prohibit them from going. And that would just be heartbreaking. So I'm so grateful for everybody who did contribute. And And just hopefully next year, we're going to try and get some bigger grants from some larger organizations in the meantime, since we have more lead time to start our fundraising efforts on that. But hopefully we'll be in good shape next year where we won't need as much. So one of those things that we worked on with the advisors was to develop curriculum for K through 12, all grades, right? Yeah. Based on the Yuba River watershed. And so this all started in 2020, the summer of COVID. We worked with a bunch of local teachers. They either worked or lived in Yuba County, and we worked with them to teach them. We had some consultants teach them how to create curriculum that meets next generation science standards, which is the standard everyone has to teach to. And then we put them in groups, grade-specific groups of 3 or 4 people, right? They worked together to create curriculum based on the Yuba River watershed. So instead of studying about the principles of flooding by learning about Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, they learn about the 1986 flood, and the 1997 flood right here in their own backyard. They learn about hydraulic mining and the impacts that continues to have to this day in our community from hydraulic mining during the gold rush. They learn about the chemistry. They have a whole, I think it's a 7th grade unit that's all about the chemistry of the Yuba River watershed and the different water bodies in our area. And so they study chemistry by playing around in the water in their own backyard. It gets them a really solid solid foundation, right? They learn year after year, and it builds on itself so that hopefully by the time they're graduating from high school, if they've been through each year's curriculum unit, they're not only rock star science students, but they also have a deep appreciation for the Yuba River and this watershed. And they'll take better care of our natural resources, and they appreciate it and will understand just how important it is to this community. And it was I can't even tell you, the teachers were so amazing that worked on this. And just last week we had a little gathering with the teachers to celebrate them and thank them for their contributions. It went through a couple of years of work with teachers in the classroom, piloting it out in their classrooms and whatnot, and making improvements to it. And then we sent it off to a education consulting firm that could kind of review all these units and certify that, yes, it does meet the next generation science standards that they say they were trying to meet. And once we got that, then we had to build it out on the website, which took a while. So it's been a long process to get this curriculum ready, but we literally just made it officially public this last week, and it is now available on our website. Any teacher or homeschool parent wants to use this curriculum, they're welcome to use it, and it is free. You can access it from our website, and it's all formatted the way that teachers like things formatted, and can understand how to follow it, which might look like garbledy-gook to the rest of us, but it is in teacher speak. And the teachers are so passionate about it. Most of them have been continuing to implement these units in their classrooms. And I was just talking to one of the kindergarten teachers yesterday, and she was talking about how she's still, these 5 years now, she's implemented it every year in her classroom, and what a difference it makes for those students. So, they'll start in kindergarten learning about what is a watershed, and then they move on to like the animals and then the other natural things in a watershed in 1st grade. And year after year, it builds, and they learn more and more. And even by the time they're on the salmon expedition in 4th grade, they are in love with the river, and they get it. Yeah. They really get how vital this resource is for us.
Somebody said the other day, they said, if these rivers weren't here, we probably wouldn't be.
Probably true.
So much that we do is centered around the rivers. I'm one of those advocates of let's get a restaurant that overlooks the river.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Like, come on. John Dukes, when he was the mayor of Yuba City, he said, we need to put some train cars on that trestle and put a spaghetti factory up there, right? So you can sit in the train car and eat spaghetti and look at the river. But yeah, we have this is such an awesome place, and for kids to be able to learn about something where they live, that's huge.
Yeah. And I think, you have said to me that it felt like we just kind of disappeared, right? Like, because we did have to pull back financially. Yeah. So we're not actively spending anymore to put our messages out there and to educate the public. We've had to pull back significantly and limit ourselves to mission critical functions right now while we work our way through this recovery. But we are still very much out there. We are still very much doing a lot of really good things We are still reducing flood risk. We are still ensuring a healthy water supply for Yuba County. We are still working in the forest with our partners. We're still, working on water education. We're still helping with fish habitat. We really are.
I love it. No fish were harmed in the viewing and the making of this film.
I don't know. There might still be a fish harmed before it's over. We're not done yet.
And they didn't pay me to come in here. I just want to make sure they're not spending their money worthlessly on fish. So this is really exciting. I'm really glad. Thank you for coming in. Like I said, the other videos that you made, you guys allowed us to put it on 93Q TV, which is on YouTube, and it cycles through so people can see that. And so those that don't know what a penstock is, like fish, you will now know. Thank you, Willie. But also the whole incident is on that. It's amazing the aerial footage that you guys got, that I think probably drone footage. And you just, because you hear about it, but when you actually see it, you're like, oh my gosh, right? And I think that's important. But for you guys to come in and say, yeah, but we get it, like a speed bump, a pretty good sized one, but we're rolling over it. And we're going to continue to do for this community what we started out to do, and we're not changing our mission. Our mission is not changing because a pipe broke. Our mission isn't changing because some troll gets on the internet and thinks it should. We're going to continue, and we have a board that gets what we're doing. They support us 100%, and we're going to continue to work on education, continue to work on. I'm the guy that's like, can you put another powerhouse in? How many powerhouses can you have on the river? And that's why Willie's like, we're fine. It was like, fish, the design is fine. We've looked at it. We're doing great. It's like, and we're not letting you be on the board. It's just like, it's not happening. But I appreciate it.
Well, Fish, I don't think you're going to get off that easy. If DeDe gets to cherry pick topics and to start talking about what she likes to talk about as a curriculum, I'm going to kind of tee off the question you asked earlier and the conclusion you just made. Like, we're not changing our mission. We're moving forward. This is just a speed bump, a big speed bump, but we're going to get through it. We're still working on a bunch of stuff that was pre-funded through the, prior to the incident, or there's outside funds that we're utilizing to move stuff forward. So I'm just going to touch on a few of those just to let everyone know that we're still moving things forward. Nothing's really, canceled. Just have some patience. It's going to be delayed, but just have some patience, have some grace. Like DeDe talked about the first board meeting after our incident, how much support we got locally. Continue to support us because we are going to do some things. But there's two that I want to talk about. One's for water supply and one's for flood control. So they're totally, agency appropriate to focus on. And one is a fish habitat project, fish. So it's appropriate for you.
So you already named it after me.
Well, it's called the Nature Like Fish Way. So it has your name in it, but it's at DeDe Dam, and it's for fish habitat, for fish passage at the Army Corps' DeDe Dam. We're still working on that. And it's also for water supply. It provides a new water diversion at DeDe Dam, an updated, modernized water diversion for irrigation water for the south part of Yuba County. So we're still moving forward with that because we're partners with the state and the federal government in that, and it's partially funded by the state. So we're moving that forward. So that's a great project for fish habitat and water supply, and that's in process, and we hope to start construction next spring. That's great. The other one is the ARC Spillway, what we call the Atmospheric River Control Spillway, a new spillway at New Bullard's Bar, our reservoir for flood control. Very similar to the new spillway that went into Folsom, several years ago, but it's for flood control. And you'd think, well, how does a spillway give you like more flood benefit? But the bottom line is it gives us more spill capacity and lower in elevation at the reservoir, creating more flood space in our reservoir.
Got it.
If you couple that with all the new science that's going into atmospheric river research and what we call forecast-informed reservoir operations, you couple the new operations with all the modern forecasting with the new piece of hardware, the new spillway, we can get better flood control, not just for Yuba County, but for the whole region, because we'll reduce the elevation of the rivers during floods in coordination with the operation of Orville to benefit us all in this community. So in detail or more specific, we're still moving forward with the permitting of that. We're still trying to get all approvals for that. Yes, the funding a bunch of the funding we had set aside for that project are just going to go to rebuilding the Penstock. but we'll build our reserves back up, and we'll still build that project someday and provide that flood control benefit. We're not just like looking the other way and dropping that. We're still moving it forward and getting it ready to construct.
I wanted to ask that. You know, it's
trying to get in the mind of a fish is difficult.
Yeah,
but
it's really,
that's what I've been trying to do here for 45 minutes.
Good luck with that. So, gosh, this is really good. So I didn't even think about that. So the agency was able to have a reserve prior to this happening.
Yes.
And then so some of that reserve was earmarked for projects. And then some of it, because this is going to cost money, the reserve had to be pulled. But if you didn't have that reserve, so this is awesome. Somebody was thinking ahead. It's like a savings account. Dave Shaw always talks about, one of the elements of your personal finances is have a savings account. And I've heard tons of people about finances doing that. So I don't know if you guys called it a savings account, but you had a reserve. If you didn't have that, this has been worse.
So much.
I think my job here is to ground you two. You two are just so you want to talk about everything and all that stuff. I think my job is to talk about the legal implications and the formal policy and all that. So I will go back to I'll go back to the super technical I follow the board strategic plan.
There you go.
My rote things that I say. Okay, that's all true. In our strategic plan, which just sounds like some document that sits on the shelf. Okay, fine. In the strategic plan is a reserves policy. It's not called a savings. It's not called a bank account, whatever. It's a formal reserves policy, and some of it is for operational continuity, another technical term. But that's to make sure that if something like this happens, we can continue to operate. And then we also have capital improvement projects included in that reserves policy. So yes, we had a reserves policy. We will have to tap into those reserves to get through this incident, but we'll be able to get through it.
But that will always, I guess, Willie, what I'm asking then is that's always going to be part of it. That's part of what your board and you guys have decided. We're always going to have that because we can't plan on stuff like this, but we can plan in case something happens. And then you talked about capital improvements. So that's money that you're saying down the road we're going to do this. We need to start putting money in that account now. That's just a great management of finances.
Well, yeah, and look at it this way. So we weren't planning on having the Colgate generator shut down for so long. So some of that capital improvement reserve that maybe we were going to spend 5 or 10 years from now on upgrading equipment there. I have the engineering team looking right now well, can we pull some of that forward? The generators are shut down now, so can we pull some of that into this time that we're out right now? So that's the type of stuff we're doing. When we say we're going to come back better, maybe the general public is just saying, well, all you got to do is bolt a pipe back on the hill. How can that be better? These are all the things we're doing behind the scenes to come back better, come back with maybe, a more robust transformer or whatever it might be at the powerhouse. And then you have to look at it this way. Early in our conversation, we talked about, for the first 50 years, we were under a power purchase agreement with PG&E and all that. Okay, the benefits we get since 2016 when we came out from under PG&E are wonderful, and we like to talk about the benefits, all the funds that we can inject in the community. That's great, but the responsibility we also took on, you can't miss that either. So back then, let's just say prior to 2016, if something broke, PG&E had the interest in fixing it because PG&E was getting the benefit of the hydroelectric generation.
Did you call them just to find out maybe they'd like to pay for this? Did you?
I think it's the opposite of that. We won't get into those. But now we have that responsibility. So that's why we have to have a reserves policy because not only do we have the responsibility of engineering and design and operations and all that of the continued operation of our project, but we've got to back it with finances. So there's there's the reason behind the reserves policy. And just like you mentioned, a household bank account, it's smart to have some reserves.
Yes.
It's good business practice to have reserves and real reserves. And when you own the 5th tallest dam in the United States and you have big stuff, big generators, big pipes, they cost a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking when those people that get on the internet, when they get on there and say, well, gee, hire Fish. He's probably cheap. He said he's a plumber. It's don't do that. Call the plumbing doctor.
Yeah.
I can't believe a 14-foot pipe. I can't even, you could walk through that and have space on all sides. It's
huge. You can drive through it.
I'm almost 3 of me could stand in it.
4.
Not that short.
I'm glad you brought Willie. He did keep us square because we'd have been talking about all kinds of stuff that didn't matter.
Right. It's all good.
So you talked him into that. So did I miss anything? I want to make sure we got.
Well, I will just say, and DeDe taught me this, like when the interviewer asks, do you have anything else to say? Use it, right? So here's what I will say. So we talked about, like, yes, we have a little delay in the things we want to do, and we're going to come back stronger. But I want to thank the folks out there that we've talked to. There are grantees, folks in levee districts and water districts locally here, people in Yuba County. When this incident happened, they all knew we were going to have, a revenue issue, and we wouldn't be able to invest in their projects as much as we wanted to. We didn't pull contracts out and wave our finger at like termination clauses and stuff like that. We just got in a room and talked about, hey, we were going to fund this, whatever project for you. Can we put a pause on it? And how impactful will that be to your operation? Because we need to set aside funds to rebuild. And everyone was so gracious and everyone was so great. And they all understood that the agency will be back. The agency will be able to invest in these things. Let's all just agree to put a pause on these, several millions of dollars of projects for a few years while we get back on our feet, dust ourselves off, and move forward. So thank you to the grantees out there that I've had those discussions with. We have a great community, up and down in all aspects, including, people that benefit from this agency, but also being understandable on what we're going through. So I want to make sure I thank them, and I got to thank my staff, because we already talked about the response and all the hard work they've gone through, and our board of directors who have been super supportive through this, and understanding that because we own such big, high consequence pieces of equipment, it takes time and effort and a lot of engineering and design and permitting to get through this stuff. And thanks to the community, thanks to you, Fish. We'll be back. If you allow us back, we'll come back when we have some milestones to talk about some of the progress we're making and kind of the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, I'm not going to let DeDe come back without you, because apparently there is the potential of you and I getting off track.
I don't know why.
Is that what
I didn't say that. I said we got to keep you grounded.
You were very kind. I love it. I love this, and we will. In my opinion, which is worth whatever my opinion's worth, is that the water agency has been so professional walking through this, and usually with media, you would have a tendency to be guarded. You guys have not been guarded. DeDe, you've been up front all the time. I called you actually and said, hey, is there anything we can do? Again, I think there's 4 videos that you gave me that are on 93Q TV on YouTube, and you can watch those. It's really great. One is actually a lot of fun. It is a cartoon of Alex Jones singing.
Oh, yes, the golden muscles.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Clean your butt.
She's so amazing.
That was clever. I don't know who did that, but that was awesome. Okay. I love that.
This is a true story. So we were drafting some social on the golden mussels issue, right? We're doing screenings, and we're encouraging everyone to clean, drain, and dry their boats before they go to any water body. And there was it was an advertisement we were prepping, and it was like, it said clean, drain, dry, and it didn't say anything else. And I was responding to one of my coworkers saying, I think we need to say, like, your boat. I think people who don't boat don't realize clean, drain, dry is what it means, right? Yeah. And I was just typing the words, clean, drain, dry your boat. And I could hear, clean, drain, dry your boat. And next thing I knew, I was like, oh my God, it just like started flowing. And I was like, oh my God. So I had to write it. And I just wrote this crazy little limerick to the tune of clean, drain, dry your boat that is all about, to the tune of row, row, row your boat, that is all about clean, drain, and dry your boat and golden mussels. And as soon as I had it written, I was like, I know exactly who I need to ask to sing this. And Alex was so gracious. And she came to my house because I have a sound booth in my house. And she came in and recorded in my little personal studio, and it was so fun, and it came out so great. And yeah, she's a rock star. So my goal with that video would be that it gets stuck in people's heads, and it makes them think about the fact that they should be cleaning, draining, and drying their all of their water, whether it's a paddleboard or a canoe or a boat or motorized or not, clean, drain, and dry it. Check it, because we do not want golden mussels in our water body.
So, sometimes I think in terms of advertising in that. I can't help it, right? And I see it, and I think, well, I understand the principle. You got to get stuff in front of people, then you got to keep it in front of them. It's one thing to put it there, but and if it doesn't have a hook, or if it isn't something that progresses so that people go back, like if you have a web page and never change anything on it, people aren't going back. So those are principles of that. But I'm telling you, I don't even own a boat. And I'm clean, drain, dry your boat. And it's like what? It's like that was good.
Yes,
yeah, you nailed it on that. And now we're playing it. I'm going to start getting phone calls. Going, could you take that off the TV?
Yeah.
No.
Played it for a few meetings when we first finished it, and there were a few. Oh God.
Now you got to run through my head.
But we'll have you guys back as this progresses.
Great.
And you can let me know just what the next thing is. Thank you for explaining that, not just what happened, but where you were before, what the responsibility, but also the laws that create what the agency can and cannot do. Which you and I have had a few conversations about that, because it's not just we get to do anything. We're locked into certain things for a specific reason, so we accomplish the goals and purposes. So thanks for bringing it. Thanks for keeping us grounded.
Yep.
You have to bring him back, or we're lost. There's no hope without him. So thanks, Willie. All right. So this was not in the tank with fish. This was in the tank of the water agency, in the fish habitat of the.
It was in the lake with fish.
In the lake.
In the lake with fish. I love
We've
that.
moved on.
Yeah, that's right.
And so
bigger now.
all I can say as we conclude here is clean, drain, and dry your boat.
Every single time.
Every single time. We won't have to deal with golden mussels. No,
Not those.
Sorry, I had to do that. Anyway, thanks for watching. You can get this on YouTube on 93Q TV, and also we'll put it on our Facebook. So thanks again for tuning in. We appreciate it.